let's explore together why it is that certain emotions or emotional states we seem to be in for a long time, months, years, decades, like depression, there's deepest sadness or grieving or anxious, right? It felt like I was born anxious and I was always anxious kind of thing, right? Or irritated and those kind of things, versus other emotions where you feel that connectedness, that love, joy, passion, excitement, where they're short-lived. They feel like they are kind of short sparks, right? That's a continuation also from a previous video where I said that an emotion can only last 2 seconds on the physiological level. So some of those things that I will be sharing here in this video might be very triggering, depending on where you're at on your healing journey, how you're feeling in this current moment, right? But I want to remind you, what I'm sharing with you is my personal experience, how these emotional states, or what I was doing with these emotional states, why this kept me trapped, and how I kind of got out of it, or how I needed to shift the way I look at certain things to help me change that if I wanted to, right? Because that was one of my first issues. I still remember that. It was one of my very first sessions with a professional, with a psychologist, and I was in deep depression, suicidal depression. And she gave me a practice, and I remember that conversation, that like them trying to point out to me all the reasons why I could be happy, but I didn't want to be happy. And I still remember sitting here, it's like, what are they doing? I'm sad. I want to be sad. I have so much to be sad about, because all those memories from abuse and stuff came up now, right? I haven't had a chance to grieve about them yet. So I was naturally feeling sad. I didn't want to not feel sad, right? So no practice or therapy session or whatever could help me there, right? I wanted to be sad. I felt like I had a right to be sad. I wanted to wallow in it. And while this is understandable, and I actually think it's almost necessary to part in your healing, like if it's similar to you, like if you had a lot of trauma and abuse in childhood and you never had time to actually feel the feelings about that, right? Like whether it's a sadness or anger towards what happened, right? When you never had that opportunity, then I think it's necessary to feel that, and it will feel intense, and it might not be 2 seconds, right? And that is totally okay. It's totally okay, right? There's nothing wrong with an emotion lasting more than 2 seconds. What I'm trying to point out here is that you have some level of influence in that, depending on where you're at on your healing journey, right? If we're fully stuck in a mental health crisis, it feels very rigid. It doesn't feel like I have much input in there, or it didn't feel for me, right? Just wanting to point that out. So it's very tricky to do a video here that goes out to a range of people, right? So it might not be that suitable, but what I really want you to point out here or see is that when I was in this really depressed state, when I couldn't get out of bed, if I had a friend come around making some jokes, trying to get me out of the funk or whatever they called it, right? And they couldn't, because I was really sad. I wanted them to see how sad I am. And I didn't want to be happy in that moment, right? So I didn't let them influence my state, my emotional state. So in that moment, I was sad, and no matter what my friends did, I stayed sad. Different scenario that also happened in the same kind of period, right? I had these occasional days in that time where I was actually a little more happy, or where I felt like, oh, I'm actually having a good day. Things were going pretty smooth, or, it felt different. I had those moments. And if then a friend or even a stranger came along and had a shit day and was dumping on me or whatever, and or was criticizing me, but I felt like it was unfairly, or something negative happened there. In a flash, I would get out of my happy, good mode kind of experience and be miserable, be sad, or whatever emotional state that was in that moment. So it took a flash to shift that. Do you get that? Right? So from my sadness into a more joyous state, I wouldn't let another person take me out of that. I was fighting for this. I was clinging on to this. I was so attached. This is the mental health crisis, right? You're really holding on to this. And on the flip side, when you're in a good state, the smallest little thing, and I'm in a different state again, right? So the reason I want to point that out today, it's possible, absolutely possible to everyone out there to change an emotional state in a second, right? It's just a lot easier, or a lot more, it feels almost effortless to go from a more joyous kind of thing to a less desirable state, emotional state, right? Can you see that? Really feel into that, right? Why wasn't it that in this moment where I was having a good day, I said to that person, hey, hang on, I'm actually having a good day here today, right? Just back off a little. Don't ruin my good day, right? We let them ruin our day. And we probably even say, I've had such a good day, and then such and such has ruined my day. Have you ever said that? I sure have. Right? So just become a little bit aware of, hey, hang on. In some moments, I can shift my state more quickly. And what is happening? Why is that? Right? And mostly it's mental, right? That's why we have mental health crisis. Right? It's what we're thinking. Our thoughts actually come before our feelings. So we have certain thoughts that create certain emotions and feelings in our body. Right? And that is what we want to become aware of. And therapy, whatever, the healing journey should never be about getting rid of certain thoughts, to get rid of certain emotions, or not having certain inner experiences. That's a trap. I tried that for decades. Trust me, it doesn't work. It costs a lot of money, but it doesn't work. It's a trap. What we want to learn is actually handle those emotional states in a different way that is more still in a way that I feel like I get to do what matters to me, right? I'm still living a life that I choose to, rather than constantly being pulled by my emotionals or by my thoughts and emotions into this staying in bed and not getting out of bed. That was one of my things, right? That I used to do, right? And as I said, we don't want to criticize ourselves about this, because there's thoughts, right? We have some very critical thoughts about ourselves, and we want to be mindful. If I believe that thought to be the truth about me, that I'm useless, that I never amount to anything, I'm damaged goods, I'm ruined beyond, and those kind of thoughts, right? If I believe that this is the one and only truth about me, then this is going to create an emotional state in my body. Right? Is it an inspiring one? Is it one that's going to get me into action and doing something? Maybe not, right? But can I have this experience and still do something that I enjoy? I don't know. Try it out and see what that does to you, right? It's not, we're trying not to get rid of things. What the PTSD often does is this focus in onto one thing. Like for me, it was always that I'm useless. This was an underlying kind of thing. I was so focused in on that, and that's all I could see, hear, and yeah, I was an embodiment of I'm useless, basically, to me, right? I'm not saying other people saw me that way, but that was the perception I had for myself. And anyone who thought different could not be trusted. Do you do that? Check in with yourself, right? Check in. but they are thoughts. If we can let those thoughts be there, here is that thought again that I am useless. Okay, here it is. And here is my body. I can feel the feet on the ground. That's my go-to. Or I did another video where I sit in the car, having the car seat supporting me, feeling how it's supporting, holding this body, right? To get back into the body, realizing that there's a body around this, right? Here is that thought, here is that feeling, here is a body, and here's a room around me, or the car, right? Whatever it is. That it's all happening at the same time, to open this up a little bit from I'm useless. Kind of, right? That narrow focus. And it is this narrow focus that creates the mental health crisis, right? And it's that narrow focus that makes a certain emotional state last for more than the 2 seconds, right? That makes it last for days, weeks, months, and years, decades in my case. Right? So when we're going into therapy or trying to reach out for help, what we're trying to look for is someone that can help us to open this up a little bit and help us to be a little bit more flexible, right? Oh yeah, I can be very irritated, but I can still enjoy my cup of tea or chocolate. Right? I can hold this, it might feel almost contradictory, but to just be playful with it. What does that do in your body when you actually, having these contradictory experiences in one moment? Be a little bit more flexible, right? That's perhaps the word, or that's the thing I have worked on for a long time in my own journey. And I want to point out, this isn't something that you have, this isn't something a technique or approach per se can give you, definitely not for medication. It's just a skill that I can practice. Every time I catch myself being focused, I'm useless, it's like, oh, let's relax a little bit. Let me feel my feet on the ground. I'm having that thought again that I'm useless. And here I'm in this room, right? To broaden up my focus and see what that does, right? To just play with that for a little bit. So just wanted to say that. I totally understand that this can be triggering. And I also want to say that to just add a little bit of softness or gentleness to that when we get triggered, right? To ourselves, towards you, to us. Okay, here I am. Can I have a look? Can I put the light, shine that light on that trigger and realize, oh, okay, here I'm watching a video and there's some words and these words created an experience in my body. You see, it's words, right? Sentences. If I'm looking through my narrow glasses, I am useless, right? I interpret that, oh, she's been there and she's out of it and she got better. That's a sign that I'm useless, right? Our mind does all sorts of weird kind of things when trying to point that out to us. But I just ask you to just take a deep breath. Bring some gentleness to you. Know that I was there too. I was struggling. And I was struggling more because I was making it so difficult for myself, right? I was very critical towards myself. So I get it, okay? I just want to send you some love and rainbows, right? To brighten up those challenging times. So see ya, bye.